So this is just a quick tutorial about focal length and how focal length and the beautiful thing called bokeh appears when you have your aperture adjusted at its widest it could be. So at 16 millimeters, you get nice, open, wide as you could be with this lens. Some lenses actually go as wide as 12. So this is the widest you could actually get with this particular lens. But as you see, there is still depth between the image and the background. So this is what we want. We want to get the whole image and at about 16 millimeters and not too far away, not too close, more like middle ground distance between myself and Mr. Spider-Man. You see that there is still blurriness occurring with this image. You don't have to be too close or an extremely close shot to get what I'm getting here. So you still see some blurriness, which is what you need when you want that depth. You want, how much of that background do you really need in focus? At 24 frames, a little closer, you can see that the background doesn't really change too much, but the subject is closer. So the millimeters gets closer to the distance of the subject. But at 24 millimeters, you could see here that you still get pretty much, I'm closer to the subject and I still get more of the background. So at 35, it's punched in even more. So now we lose some of the features like his feet. The feet were cut off because it didn't really back up at 35. Now at 45, pulling back a little bit, getting some more of the feet and everything, the parking lot becomes a little bit more blurry. 55, punched in a little bit more, still about the same distance. I may have pulled back a little bit more, but we still get more of the character at a tighter shot. The background is looking blurrier than, let's say, this 45. Now at 35, I'm punched in even more. It didn't push back too much, kept it at the distance that I was, and I pushed in at a 35 millimeter, and now we get more of the mid torso. Really, again, this is not so much about the framing, but more or less the depth of what's happening. So there's more depth between Spider-Man and the background. At 55 millimeters, closer to the subject, the background starts to look a little bit different, right? What is that? That could be anything. Either way, you get more blur and more depth, again, when you punch in at about 50, and you can really get a little bit more, something as they call cinematic. And here, we get to see the change. Background is clear, but the subject in the front is now blurry. Interesting. And this is, again, how would you use this in a story? You want to reveal somebody, and you slowly reveal it. So the background, and then what's in the front, it's Spider-Man. That's a cool toy. It's not even mine. So understanding focal length and your aperture relate to one another. I could do a further study about what is that focal length and a tighter aperture. I'll do another test where I will do another focal length, but with a higher aperture. So something more like 4.0, 5.0, or whatever the case is, and see what we get when we have proper lighting, decent lighting. This is outside because I like to use outside. It's free. Right? I don't have to set up any lights. Ugh. But once you get your decent lighting, however you get your subject in focus and they're seen, the focal length and the closing of the aperture matters greatly. But I'll do that another day. I'm so busy. Either way, this is what the camera relations between focal length, your distance between the subject and the lens, and the aperture, how wide or closed can you get. So the widest I have for a lens is this Canon 50mm 1.8 aperture. This on subject really opens up more. So the bokeh is a little deeper because the aperture is as open as it could be at 1.8. But this is for a Canon, and I'll show you an example of what that looks like using this. This lens opens at 2.8, and that's the widest it could get. So the subjects are still very well seen, lit, and I don't really need to go any more open than that. And if I needed to close it, I can. So that's it. So I'm gonna do some more studies with, or some more examples. This is all practice for me, as well as me sharing what I do know with it. I'm just trying to do things with what I have. So I'll do some more of these examples with focal length aperture, and experiment and see what do you get based on situation, location, all kinds of things. So there's so much to experiment with, but I'll play around with it some more because there's something I'm trying to do, and I need to really master my lens. And it's the biggest part of craft making when it comes to film. So knowing your lens and knowing what you can get out of it would really tell your story. Just don't get it because it's fancy, whatever the case is. Understand what it is that you're purchasing. Purchasing power is yours. Anyway, I think I'm done. So, yeah. Was that pretty good? No, that sucked.